All right, so word games,
Okay.
but not just any word games. We're talking about the kind that could supposedly unlock, like, the secrets hiding in your mind. And you know me,
Right.
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
We're diving into Carl Jung's association method. It's like a linguistic lie detector test.
It's pretty wild when you think about it, how Jung, back in the early 1900s, used something as simple as word association
Yeah.
to, like, revolutionize how we even understand the unconscious mind.
Mhm.
Because it's more than just the words, right? It's like those little hesitations, those unexpected connections
Right.
that really start to paint a picture of what's going on beneath the surface.
Okay, so somebody says, like, butterfly, and you just blurt out, like, anxiety. Does that mean something? It's not just random, right?
No, not at all. So Jung would give people a list of words, kind of everyday words, right? Like father, money, even death,
Mm-hmm.
and just ask them, what's the first thing that pops into your head? But what he found was any delays, any kind of stumbling over the words, these often pointed to what he called complexes,
Complexes.
which essentially are those areas in our unconscious
Right.
where we might have, unresolved emotions, experiences,
Mm-hmm.
things that we react to very strongly, even if we don't consciously know why.
So let's say, I don't know, the word is marriage.
Okay.
Someone who is, like, happily single, they might say love or celebration.
Right.
But somebody who is, let's just say, going through a rough divorce,
Ah.
their response might be a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be arguments, it could be a sigh, it could be silence even.
Yeah?
But it's like their life experiences are actually shaping how they're responding in that moment.
It's like their subconscious is trying to tell us something,
Yeah,
but it's speaking in this, like, coded language
exactly.
of word association.
But it gives us this window into how our past experiences,
Yeah.
relationships, hidden anxieties, all these things that we might not even be aware of are actually influencing our thoughts and behaviors in the present moment.
So how did Jung actually use this? Was this, like, a theoretical thing, or did he, like, put this to the test, this linguistic lie detector, in the real world?
Oh, he absolutely did.
Really?
Yeah, one really interesting case involved a theft,
Do you see?
a stolen wallet,
Okay.
and Jung was actually brought in to interview the suspects.
What?
And he used this word association method
Wow.
to try and figure out,
So he's, like, running a word association interrogation.
basically,
Did it work?
it did.
Yet.
He found that the person who was guilty had these very specific reactions to certain words, particularly ones related to the theft.
Okay.
Their reaction times were way longer. They used very specific words,
Yeah.
hinted at guilt. And even their memory of what they'd said was worse on those topics, almost like their subconscious was trying to cover something up.
It's like their brain was trying to hide something that it knew, even if they weren't consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
But Jung, he didn't stop at, like, individual secrets, did he?
No, not at all.
He took this word association thing and applied it to something even closer to home, families.
Yes.
Which, as somebody who comes from a long line of, let's just say, colorful characters, I find this very, very intriguing.
Yeah. He was really interested in this idea of familial constellations, this
Yeah.
notion that our closest relationships, especially those early ones,
Mhm.
shape our way of thinking
Right.
more than we realize. And his research, using the association method on families, revealed some really fascinating patterns.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What kind of patterns are we talking about?
Well, one of the things he found was that spouses
Okay.
tend to become more alike in their thinking over time.
Really?
Yeah. So like those shared experiences, those daily conversations,
Right.
even just the act of living together starts to create this unconscious alignment in how they use and respond to language.
Interesting. So does that mean that our partners are slowly turning into versions of ourselves? Should we be worried?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's not about becoming carbon copies. It's more about how those shared experiences can just subtly influence our ways of thinking
Right.
and responding to the world.
Right.
But there is another layer to this. He also observed that men seem to be less affected by marriage than women
Oh, that is juicy.
in terms of this convergence.
So are men just more set in their ways?
It's not so much about being set in their ways. Jung theorized that this difference might be tied to the social roles and expectations placed on men and women at the time.
Okay.
Women, often much more confined to the domestic sphere, they shared a greater portion of their daily lives with their spouses.
Right.
So this constant interaction, he believed, could lead to a stronger mirroring effect in their word associations.
So it's not necessarily that men are stubborn or resistant to change. It might just be the context of their lives and relationships.
Right,
That's an
exactly.
important nuance.
Yeah.
But he also looked at kids, right?
Yes, he did.
Because if this method can reveal, like, these hidden thoughts, these anxieties in adults, imagine what it could tell us about these little developing minds.
Oh, absolutely. Children are fascinating, right?
Yeah.
They're like these little sponges just soaking up information, trying to make sense of the world. And when it comes to those big, often confusing questions about life,
Right.
their word associations can give us such a fascinating glimpse into their thought process.
So are we, like, strapping 4-year-olds to lie detector tests now? Just kidding. Mostly.
Right.
But seriously, what does this look like with kids?
So Jung actually had this fascinating case study of a 4-year-old girl, Anna,
Okay.
and her whole journey of trying to figure out where babies come from, I think is a perfect example of this.
Okay.
So, before her little brother Freddie was born,
Yeah.
she had been asking her parents about where babies came from. And, like many parents do,
Yeah.
they gave her that classic, like, the stork brings babies explanation.
Ah, yes. The bird did it. A tale as old as time.
Right.
I'm guessing little Anna was not fully convinced.
Well, and here's the thing. She had also overheard this idea
Yeah.
that, when people die, they become angels, and that babies are angels sent from heaven.
Okay.
And this is where, bless her heart, she starts trying to connect the dots in her own way
Oh, boy, here we go.
because her grandmother had mentioned this to her.
Yeah.
And so now she's thinking babies are angels are dead people, and you can see where this is going.
So she's thinking mom's gonna die.
Right. She even asked her mother straight out, Mommy, are you going to die?
Oh, my gosh.
Talk about a morbid thought for a 4-year-old.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But this is where it gets really revealing, I think, in terms of how the association method can kind of play out with children.
Yeah.
Because obviously her mom didn't die after giving birth.
Right.
But for Anna, this threw a wrench in her whole understanding of the situation.
Right, because if mom's not dead and the stork's not real, then where did Freddie come from? Her little mind is like going into overdrive trying to solve this mystery.
And that's what I think is so amazing about kids.
Yeah.
They had this incredible drive to make sense of the world, even when the information they're working with is incomplete or confusing.
Right.
They don't just let it go.
So what'd she do? Did she, like, become this tiny little baby detective searching for clues?
In a way, she did.
Yeah.
She became very curious about the nurse who had helped with the baby. She even started playing nurse herself,
Oh.
wearing a cap and apron, things like that.
Oh, that's cute.
But here's where we see that kind of like the emotional impact of this, intellectual puzzle she's trying to solve.
Okay.
Because she starts having these kind of melancholic moments, singing these sad little songs, telling these sad little stories about nurses.
That's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's like she was working through this confusion, maybe even some, like, feelings of being replaced by the new baby through storytelling.
Yeah,
Kids are so amazing at that,
they really are.
processing things that way.
It's incredible.
But wasn't she also having some, like, pretty vivid dreams around this time? I remember reading something about that.
Yes. And this is where I think Jung's insights into the unconscious become even more relevant, because she started having these incredibly symbolic dreams.
Okay.
Like, one of them was about Noah's Ark,
Okay.
but all the animals fall out from a lid on the bottom.
Okay, so I'm no dream interpreter, but even I can see that there's some, like, baby symbolism happening there. It's
Huh.
like her subconscious is trying to, like, piece together this puzzle of birth and creation.
Exactly.
But it wasn't all, like, storks and arcs, was it? Didn't she have some pretty strong reactions to what her parents were telling her, or I guess weren't telling her?
Yeah. She went through this phase of, like, accusing her mother of lying.
Oh.
And not just about the baby,
Wow.
but, like, everyday things. Like, even just, like, going into the garden.
Okay.
But it was more the tone. It wasn't like anger or defiance. It was more like she was testing her
Right.
trying to see how far she could push before getting like a real truthful answer.
Yeah, like she instinctively knew there was more to the story and she wasn't going to let it go
Right. Yeah.
until she got, like, the real answer.
Exactly. And, just when you think she's way off track,
Yeah.
she has this dream about being able to make summer connecting the blooming of flowers to the creation of babies.
wow.
And then in another dream, someone throws a punch doll down the toilet,
Okay.
which for her symbolizes,
Yeah.
a more, let's say, realistic exit strategy for a baby.
Okay, that is both hilarious and oddly profound.
Yeah.
This little girl is like a baby-making philosopher.
Right.
But it really shows how, like, these seemingly random questions, these observations from children, they can often be clues to these, like, really complex thought processes that are happening beneath the surface.
Yeah.
So did she ever figure it out? Did her parents finally tell her?
They did. After months of Anna's relentless questioning, they finally explained it in simple terms, using the analogy of a gardener planting a seed in the ground.
Okay.
And you know what? She was totally satisfied.
Wow.
All that anxiety, all those questions,
Yeah.
and a simple, age-appropriate explanation was all it took to put her mind at ease.
Sometimes the simplest explanations are the most powerful, especially for, a child who's just trying to make sense of the world.
Absolutely.
But Anna's story isn't just about, like, satisfying a child's curiosity, right?
Right.
It highlights something that Carl Jung was really getting at with this whole association method.
Yes.
That our childhood experiences, those early relationships, the way we make sense of our world, these things can have a lasting impact on how we think and behave as adults.
Without a doubt. Anna's case is like this powerful reminder that what might seem like, just random questions or anxieties from a child are often a window into these deeper thought processes, these attempts to make sense of complex emotions and experiences. And I think by paying attention to those clues, by really listening to what children are trying to tell us, we can gain these incredible insights into their inner world and help them, navigate those big questions in a way that feels safe and empowering for them.
So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into this fascinating world of the association method, I think, the biggest takeaway here is words are powerful. They're not just tools of communication, they're clues to our hidden thoughts.
Yes.
Our anxieties, our hopes, our dreams.
Yeah.
And sometimes, just by paying a little more attention to the words we use, the words that those around us use, especially children,
Absolutely.
we can unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and of the world around us.
I love it.
It's like Jung said, the word is a small thing, but it is from such small things that human life is made up.